Okay, so I go now into my topic, which I would like to introduce you, so to facilitate like more like also a conceptual, let's say, background of today, and this will be about this climate literacy and what is it. When I say literacy, then I always remember that there was, since the advent of the internet, since the mid-90s, there always has been a discussion about that we need internet literacy, we need media literacy. Do we understand the media and all the systems which are behind them, all these infrastructures? Do we understand the social communication systems? But as pandemics have pushed us really heavily to become literates of the media and even experts today. So then this was like this probably is not anymore the issue, but I think it's quite interesting and also relevant is start to think about climate literacy. What does it mean? So we are aware of many things in our daily life, environmental issues. We know where our waste goes. Maybe we don't actually. Well, if you really imagine where it goes, then you realize that you don't know. We know that the electrical cars will be our future. Yeah, or renewable energy becomes relevant, and maybe not only because the natural resources will be depleted, but also because it's a new paradigm which might just replace the oil-based, for example, paradigm. And also we have been organizing a lot of different experiments with our RIXC center. So where we have been inviting young biologists to install, show us how to build, I don't know, also bacteria batteries and how to build them in ponds. So we have been trying to do as much as we can, the best one. So we have been also learning how to build hydroponic systems, and all these different practices which have been around brought by artists and activists over the, let's say, during the past 5-10 years. We are also bringing together here into these workshops, so for showing and sharing this, because this is actually quite a large scale activities. It's not something marginal that artists and activists are doing. And so also, but how much do we know actually about all these interconnections between, so, and also how everyday life also affects our planet or climate. So that's, we realize that is not so well known, and also even by the scientists. So there are some like a basic principles. So why it is so that we think we know, yeah, that's a good thing to plant trees, but actually maybe it's important to know also which trees, in which conditions, and in which cities or in which forests. So this means that what currently is really a challenging situation is to understand these complex interactions about the components of the Earth system. So there are some of these basic principles here, in yeah, we know that also the climate is varies of both natural and man-made processes. There are much more processes which influence, and that sometimes we might feel that where is then our place of it, so what we can do. And more recently also scientists have become aware, and they have this that actually we know quite a lot about the Mars and this other stars, and we know about some certain processes or about the human body, but we don't know exactly about what is happening in this tiny sphere around the planet Earth. And the French philosopher Bruno Latour invites us to come back down to Earth to think about these new conditions. So what is happening in this tiny layer, which is just a few kilometers above and just a few kilometers down. The problem was because of this thinking that since already times of the Renaissance, since scientists revealed that sun is going around, so that all the planets are circulating in the universe, that there always have been many intentions and wishes, and also like we all follow Mars mission, and this seems so exciting, so that we actually have been forgotten about this tiny layer in which all life happens. And scientists are calling this critical zone. So this is Earth's outer skin. So this is where rock meets life. Yeah. So, and I can play a short excerpt from a video about critical zones from the scientist perspective.
Is in a constant state of transformation, from large-scale disasters, both natural and man-made, to the microscopic chemical processes that control decay and decomposition. It is becoming ever more evident that our ecosystem is under increasing pressure from global change, leaving many people wondering, how will our landscapes respond? Across the country, scientists believe that we can better understand how our Earth will respond to this global pressure by studying what they call the critical zone.
The critical zone is the part of the Earth's environment in which we as humans interact.
It's where rock meets life. It's the veneer of the continental land surface that extends from the top of vegetation and the canopy down through soil and bedrock to whatever depth fresh groundwater is circulating.
We call it the zone of transformation because that's where things happen. That's where atmospheric CO2 is turned into plant material. That's where plant material is turned back into atmospheric CO2. That's where water is transformed from rainwater into groundwater and stream water. All those processes take place in the critical zone. It's a very active and dynamic zone. It's the zone where really important things happen at the Earth's surface.
It provides the food that we eat, it filters and cleans the water that we drink, and provides us the oxygen that we breathe. So it's imperative to understand the critical zone.
But I think even beyond that, it's critical also to all types of life. This is where most ecosystems live that are terrestrial, life on this planet.
Here in the U.S.
Okay, back to presentation. So taking this concept from the scientists and also working together with many of the critical zone observatories, French philosopher Bruno Latour was in collaboration with TEDKM Center in Karlsruhe, Germany, was coordinating and curating a large-scale project called Critical Zones. So inviting also artists to show their work who are exploring this thin layer around the planet and building up what he calls terrestrial coexistence. So it's actually that we are taking into account many different species living not only like a human, and everything else is a resource. So that's from the already website of critical zones. Yeah, that taking care of the land probably would be much more successful if we knew where we live on. So, and just some quotes also from this same critical zones concept. Simply, we probably, if we don't know that 90% of our cells constitute our body, are not humans, so then it means, yeah, we probably should know a bit more, know a bit more. Yeah, and just imagine how connected we are. So that's all about the critical zones. And so there is this link, so maybe Liva can also post in a chat. So this is an amazing website, and if you are working in this topic or interested in this theme, being an artist or researcher or making your science projects or whatever, so this is an amazing source because it's really, there is only one part is art, so the others are interviews with the scientists and recordings of different discussions, so you can really check it out. Like, for example, there are also especially web-based works like this one, so which is keep updating constantly the situation and how this is changing, and they are showing percentages of the also a land surface, so how much are alive, how much are dead, and then also this website has been built so that we can see also the other people interacting at the same time, how many people we are watching it. So yes, this is the question, what art can do. And because I have been myself as artist also working for many years with ecological topics, this has been always a question, is there anything we can meaningfully to do for solving some of these, at least to contribute to solving some of the most pressing challenges. And then one thing is also what the critical zones exhibition is doing. We can serve the table and invite other disciplines to contribute and change also their discoveries or their ideas, and building up together something more visionary for the future. So this is a SWAM globe. So this is already a project which I would like shortly to show. It's an art project by me and Rasa SMITE from RIXC. And we have been working on a SWAM project for a bit longer time. Because we also realized that that's not only like our initial idea started with bacteria living in the soil and in the bottom of the different lakes and ponds. So, and as there is this new technology, Microbiofuel Cell, which you will be introduced today, so that they actually are also generating like electricity. Also a side project is a hydrogen. So basically there is a huge even intensive agriculture, not destroyed fields even today, so which are very close to ancient life as it was on the planet. And so we were performing there in the pond, and we were also taking different environmental data and making up the concept of these living ecosystems, which we know really little about. Again, we play a small video. So it's a conceptual video of our imagination of swamp. Back to presentation. So, and we also have been creating like this pond battery. So conditions where we for 7 months observed, so how this electricity by bacteria are produced, and that actually this is not influenced by conditions of a weather or a sun, because these are bacteria who are living in the environment where there is no oxygen. So these are the bacteria, for example, which are living in the space, which are living even in our blood system. So this is, again, if you remember what I showed, that maybe we are much more the other organisms than human as we think. So also R generates electricity. It was in the national news. So yeah, but because it's something that how we wanted to also like spread the word about that there are different possibilities else how to care about the environment, but also how we should solve our resource problem, because we are digital artists and today everybody uses the internet, so it can be more ecological as well, and it can be also worse. So that's again, so how to find this right balance. And so the other ecosystem which I have been exploring as an artist also together with writers, there's forests in Switzerland. So there was specifically very interesting setting, like living observatory set up by Swiss climate and forest scientists. So they were collecting all possible material from these sites. So there were each tiny plant was even marked, yeah. So, and they were also using so I was also experimenting with near infrared cameras, which are showing that this dead tree here, so it looks much more red because the blue is alive, but because of this, how the green is reflected back. So because we realize that plants actually don't consume green color, so they all reflect back into the, so from the sunlight it's reflected, so that's why we see the green. And if you have some modified spectrum cameras, you can already use in observing the areas where trees are getting to be dead because of a climate of a drought. And also to using some other scientific equipment and data from the science, we were creating also here is very interesting, also spectrometer machine which scientists were using to collect these volatile emissions coming from the trees, which we usually recognize as a smell of the forest. And so for me, working with these scientists together and in these specific sites in Switzerland was quite surprising, because I also thought, like many of us here in Latvia, we think we have a great connection with the nature, and that we really do. But being aware that also the trees are breathing and that their emissions reach out far into atmosphere, and actually they are responsible for creating the clouds in also the same local areas, and we even don't know, we cannot really follow how much it affects also globally. So I realized that it's really, this complexity is very important, but also understanding how else we can experience this, because there are no more senses than we do have. Yeah, so I was trying to touch and to sense and smell. Yeah, so what would mean these volatile emissions, and how they, from this resin of the pine trees, how it is also emitting into the air and creating clouds. For me, it was quite a new, like a discovery, I must say. So, and also when I more and more interviewed scientists, I became to that predicting even these natural volatile emissions is much more complex than so. So if you sometimes got a headache just for walking into the pine tree not pine tree, but maybe the fir tree, so the others which are more a bit heavy, so then that's because of they also creating the aerosols, which usually kind of have a negative effect. So all this confusion also is not just about to confuse someone or us, but also to experience and to understand this complexity which exists in this tiny layer of critical zone. And I also performed an experiment where I was myself doing some do-it-yourself performance, like burning these resins and creating a colophon sculpture. And I was also doing a distillation, pouring here cold water and also cooking the resin. And here I see I've got some drops of the turpentine. And this is a colophon sculpture, so which is again a transformation of the same molecular structure, but just in another state. So that's how. Yeah, I will not show the video. I don't have any more time. But also atmospheric forest will be also shown into the what is the final outcome of this research in the forest will be shown and included in the final events of the AugE projects in June. And yeah, I would like to end with this principle, so that definitely this complexity of an interaction among components, and also interaction between nature produced, for example, emissions, or car produced emissions, yeah, so that they all are here and they are very, very close to us and they are influencing each other. And that would be probably a time to think about this climate literacy. So how we can become aware of it and what we can do. Yeah, again, which trees we are planting in the cities, maybe those who don't emit volatiles, so maybe not pine trees, but the others, because not all trees does it, and so on and so on with the plants, it's the same. Okay, so thank you very much. So that's, I'm stop sharing screen here. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in a chat. I will also reply there. But otherwise, I would like to say thanks and just pass immediately now also to the next speaker, to Lina, who will be introducing another perspective in how artists and activists and creative people deal with the climate.